The Pittsburgh Penguins are now contenders after this blockbuster trade that unfolded this morning. The Montreal Canadiens bring back a familiar face, and the San Jose Sharks increase their forward depth. I'll break down this trade and much more coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. Hi, I'm your host Casey, and welcome back to Hat Trick HQ. That said, let's get right to the main topic of this video, which is this big blockbuster trade that unfolded this morning between the Pittsburgh Penguins, the San Jose Sharks, and the Montreal Canadiens. The Pittsburgh Penguins received Norris-winning defenseman Erik Karlsson from the San Jose Sharks, along with Rem Pitlick from the Montreal Canadiens, Dylan Hamaliuk from the San Jose Sharks, and a 2026 third-round draft pick from the San Jose Sharks. The San Jose Sharks received a 2024 first-round draft pick from the Pittsburgh Penguins, Mikael Granlund from the Penguins as well, Jan Rutta from the Penguins as well, and Mike Hoffman from the Montreal Canadiens. The Montreal Canadiens received a 2025 second-round draft pick from Pittsburgh Penguins, and Jeff Petrie, Casey DeSmith, and Nathan Legare from the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. I'll go through this trade and break it down one by one, starting with this trade is massive for the Penguins. Obviously, when you bring in a guy of a Norris caliber like Erik Karlsson, at 33 years of age, winning the Norris Trophy is massive. A right-handed shot defenseman who are hard to find these days in the NHL. With last season getting 101 points on the San Jose Sharks. Obviously, this is huge for the Pittsburgh Penguins organization. I think now, with adding this addition of Erik Karlsson, Chris Letang can slip back to the second-line pairing, and they can have Ryan Graves and Erik Karlsson ride out on the top pairing. And with Chris Letang being 36 years of age, I think this is great for him because he gets less ice time and he'll stay more healthy throughout the season. And you've got a big offensive defenseman in Erik Karlsson up there on the top line. I think this is a massive add for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I do think that this makes them, if not Stanley Cup contenders, definitely deep playoff run contenders. With Tristan Jarry in net and with the forwards they have of Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, and all these guys, this team is just poised for victory after this trade. And it seems like Pittsburgh's in a win-now state. I think with Crosby and Malkin all getting up there in age, as well as Letang, their core three who've been there through thick and thin over the years, I think they're looking to get one more cup before they hang up the skates. And I think adding a guy like Erik Karlsson, who is around the same age as these guys, I think it was just the perfect addition. I think you got these four league veterans who know how to win. They know how to put the puck in the back of the net, and they know how to go through the playoffs and get deep and get to the cup final and win. And also in this trade, they received Rem Pitlick from the Montreal Canadiens, who I was a big fan of when he was there in Montreal. Obviously, he's a guy who doesn't really know his spot in the league right now. Last year, playing with Laval, and he did play with Montreal last season and the season before as well. But I think this is a great ad for them. I think that Rem Pitlick is a really good fourth-line center on any team. I think that this will be a great guy for the Penguins to probably go out there, maybe get them 20, maybe 25 points this year on the fourth line. I think that was also a great ad for them to get in this trade. But obviously the big news here is Erik Karlsson. Like I said, Erik Karlsson has been the best offensive right shot defenseman in the league for years. Obviously, he was slumping a bit, but last year, 101 points and winning the Norris, and he's coming to your team the very next season. Yeah, you better watch out because he's going to light it up again this year, especially when he has Crosby and Malkin up front with him. And his D partner projected this is going to be, a lot of people are saying Ryan Graves. I think this is a great pairing for him. I think their chemistry is going to be unmatched. I think, pairing a great offensive defenseman up with a good two-way defensive defenseman type player like Ryan Graves is perfect. And with that said, I'd like to hear your guys' comments on the Pittsburgh Penguins down in the comment section below. Do you think that they're going to be contenders this year? Because I really think they do. I really think they have the talent and they have the goaltending to make a deep run this year. But we're going to get to the second topic of this video, which is Kent Hughes works his magic for the Habs. And we're going to bring up The trade again, just to go over what Montreal got in this trade. They received a 2025 second-round draft pick from Pittsburgh, Jeff Petrie, Casey DeSmith, and Nathan Legare from Pittsburgh as well. And this is good. This is a good trade by Kent Hughes. Bringing a guy like Jeff Petrie back, I know that he's 36 years old right now, but this is the deal that actually got him here. Sources are saying from Eric Ingles that the Penguins are retaining 25% of his salary, and that the Canadiens are not retaining any of Hoffman or Pitlick's salary, which is huge for them, because Hoffman was on, I believe, a $4.6 million contract, and now getting Petrie back at 25% retained, also on a $4.6 million contract as well. I know a lot of people are skeptical about this Petrie ad, but because he's up there like 36 years old. But you know, we've seen Petrie work in Montreal in the past. He was one of the best right shot defense the Montreal Canadiens have had for a very long time. Obviously, last year playing 61 games, netting 31 points with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and in previous years with Montreal, you just see his stats there. He was just a solid guy to have on your team. And I think bringing Jeff Petrie back when Montreal is kind of lacking a right shot defense right now is perfect. I know a lot of people are saying that maybe Kent Hughes may look to move him again at 50% retained, which would only, I think, bring back $2.3 million onto Montreal's cap, which, if he can trade him for a really good a good trade or a good pick, or wherever the Montreal Canadiens are when they get towards that trade deadline, I think it's a great move for Montreal. But the other big thing that happened in this trade was Casey DeSmith coming to Montreal. And Montreal is in a place right now where their goaltending situation is kind of up in the air. And bringing in another goaltender, I thought, was a bit strange. But I do really like this move. A 31-year-old goaltender who's played most of his career, or all of his career in the Pittsburgh organization, last year winning 15 games and 16 losses, and with a .905 save percentage. But Casey DeSmith has been a guy who has had a .900 save percentage everywhere he's been. And I think bringing a guy like this to Montreal is crucial, especially when you don't know what your goaltending situation is for the year. But with Jake Allen, it's kind of up in the air now. Because do you ride Casey DeSmith? Do you trade Jake Allen? Do you trade Casey DeSmith? Do you trade Primo? Do you trade Montembeault? It's kind of all up in the air right now. But I think Casey DeSmith's a great goaltender. I think bringing him in, I think he's been playing backup pretty much his whole career. I think maybe giving him a shot at starting on this Montreal team isn't a bad idea. I think a guy who's had a .900 save percentage everywhere he's gone, obviously he's going to play good in the NHL, at the NHL level. And it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds here in the coming weeks. We might see Jake Allen moved, which I know a lot of Habs fans will rejoice if Jake Allen is moved. It's going to be interesting to see what the goaltending situation is going to be like in Montreal. But the big news coming out of this trade is obviously the Jeff Petrie move. I think that is huge. It's a guy who is a right-handed shot that Montreal has been missing, and it's just big for Montreal right now. I think he's a guy who's going to come in, even at 36 years of age, and probably get you 30 points this year if it all works out and he doesn't get moved. But I'd like to hear your guys' comments on this down in the comment section. Do you think this was a good move by Montreal? Because I think this was a really sneaky win for Montreal, something that I wasn't suspecting. And like with Casey DeSmith, he's a shutdown goaltender. And it's just a great trade because they got rid of Hoffman, who they've been trying to move for a little while now. Big contract of, I think it's $4.6 million. They were able to unload that aging player at $4.6 million for no retained. And it's a good move for Rem Pitlick too, because Rem Pitlick was in a position where he probably wasn't going to crack the Montreal's lineup this year with Jake Evans being probably the fourth line center, or when Christian Dvorak comes back, he probably wasn't going to make it. So I think it's a good move for Rem Pitlick because he might get some minutes now in Pittsburgh. But with that said, let's get right into the last part of this 3-team trade, which is the Sharks make the best out of a bad situation. And yes, they received Mike Hoffman from the Montreal Canadiens, who last couple of years has played pretty well for the Montreal Canadiens. A 30-point player over the last 3 years. I think it's a good deal for the San Jose Sharks. Obviously, they're just increasing their forward depth with Mike Hoffman there, and it's a good trade. Like I said, they're making the best out of a bad situation. Like, obviously, Karlsson wanted to be moved, so something had to happen. So they brought back, they brought in a Mike Hoffman. They brought in a Mikael Granlund from the Pittsburgh Penguins as well, along with a first overall pick, which is huge for them. But Mikael Granlund obviously has been a great player over his time in the NHL, getting up there in age now at 31 years of age. But in last season, he had about 41 points between the Nashville Predators and the Pittsburgh Penguins. But he's a great center, a great playmaker. A guy who can put the puck in the back of the net as well. A good goal scorer. Someone that the San Jose Sharks organization will look for. Obviously, the San Jose Sharks probably aren't a playoff team this year, unfortunately. But what they had to do, I think it was they made the best out of a bad situation. With a first overall pick, that's what you want. When you're trading away a Norris-winning defenseman and you're getting a first-round draft pick back, even though it might not be high up there, because the Pittsburgh Penguins are probably going to do pretty well this year. I think it's a like I said, making the best out of a bad situation. Bringing in a goal scorer like Mike Hoffman, and a goal scorer and playmaker like Mikael Granlund, that's the best you can do, But we're going to go back over this trade again here, and we're just going to look at the cap situation for each team. And the Montreal Canadiens in this deal only gained $887,000, which is a really good deal for the Montreal Canadiens. When you're bringing in Jeff Petrie and Casey DeSmith, even if you move these guys, you're gonna get cap retained, But Montreal's obviously going to have to move somebody, a goaltender probably, like Jake Allen or Casey DeSmith, but that will just help their cap situation out even better. But the really interesting one here is the Pittsburgh Penguins, who get Erik Karlsson's $10 million contract over the next 4 years, and they still lost $3 million in cap space. So that's good news for the Pittsburgh Penguins, because next year Jake Gensel is expiring, and he's going to be 29 years old, looking for probably a long-term deal to finish out his NHL career. So having this cap wiggle room for the Pittsburgh Penguins is crucial. And looking at the San Jose Sharks, they do gain $2 million in cap from this trade with taking on Mikael Granlund and Mike Hoffman's contract. But it's the price you pay for first overall draft pick, if it's top 10 protected, sorry. But like I said, the Pittsburgh Penguins are probably going to be a team that finishes pretty high up, and it'll probably fall down to a probably 20th to 30th round pick this year. But I'd like to hear your guys' comments on this down in the comment section below. Who do you think won this trade? I think it was a good situation for each team. I think, like I said, Pittsburgh probably contending now with the additions of these two players. Montreal obviously improved their goaltending situation and their problem at the right-handed defenseman position. And the San Jose Sharks increased their forward depth, adding 2 goal scorers. I'd like to hear your guys' comments. What do you think of this trade? I wasn't expecting this morning, I'm not going to lie, but I'd like to hear your guys' comments on this. I've been KC. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe. We're trying to hit 100 subscribers before the season starts. Keep your stick on the ice.